Hello and welcome back to the fourth part of my Unity development log series for Colonise. This week we'll be taking a look at expanding the build menu so you can create different buildings such as the hangar bay here, which can produce the first type of ship in the game, mining shuttle, or the living quarters, which gives you an extra action per turn. First things first, I needed to create a couple buildings. So here you can see the hangar bay prefab, which I've made under game objects buildings. And it has a building script attached. Every building, no matter what type it is, will have this script. It contains a cost, which will usually be above 0 in at least one of these categories. Name, description, and some things here that have been fed in for the user interface. This hangar bay also has a producer script, which means it can create a mining shuttle for the relevant resources, which is all set within the ship's own prefab. However, this isn't the only type of script that could be attached to a building. For example, here on the living quarters, you can see this provider script, which provides one action per turn, and when it's set up, it will add that extra action to the player's total. When it's destroyed, it will remove it. So the place where these buildings are going to be created is on different planets that the player owns. So you can see here in the home planet prefab, under the planet script, there's now a available buildings array, which I've set the size of to 2 and added 1 of each of the new buildings. Then over in the script, once this item has been selected and the menu is open, this load options script is called, which adds each individual item, filling out its details, and then passes back an offset to be used in the Y position, so they don't all appear on top of each other, but they will fill out in order. And this can be seen in the game. Once I select the home planet and open the building menu, I've now got these two options, hangar bay and living quarters. And the same script that I used last week to expand these options now brings up the details of it. So for the hangar bay, it can produce mining shuttles and science shuttles, and the upgrade isn't done yet. That'll be quite a bit later on. And living quarters provides an extra action per turn. I also added this button to it, which checks the cost when clicked, and if the player can pay for it based on the resources and actions they have available, then it creates the building and adds it to the list of buildings owned on that planet. So I've just started a fresh game with 0 resources, and if we open up the build menu and try and build the living quarters here, it's not going to allow us because there isn't enough metal remaining. It requires 2 metal and 3 energy to build. So if we grab those 3 energy and then hit the next turn, grab 2 metal, we've got 1 action left, which is perfect because we need 1 action left to build this living quarters, at which point it will appear here at the side with details of what it does, and I'll go into the code of how that works right now. Before we get into that though, if I just hit the next turn, you'll notice that that additional action is now appearing from the living quarters. Setting up the user interface in that right hand side of the screen for each building was actually quite a lengthy process. I initially tried using the layout groups built within Unity, but I was having some issues with them. Even after updating to a later client version, it still wasn't quite spacing them how I wished, so I decided to do it all manually with my own offsets, similar to how we created them in the build menu earlier. So it's basically just creating a new little box, filling it in with the name. If it produces anything, then it will add an option to produce that. I'll show you an example in a moment of the hangar bay. And if it provides anything, it will add the little text box with what it's providing in there. One thing to note about the producers in particular is that for each of the ships that are able to be produced, we add a button, and we add the listener to this button. I'm doing this manually rather than through the editor, and the listener is just saying, take that producer and create a ship. And that producer checks if you have the relevant cost to pay for it, so if you have enough metal, energy, gas, and of course an action, and if they can pay, then it takes them off you, spawns the new ship in the location, and sets all the relevant data. Hop into the earlier game now to see that in action. I don't quite have a hangar bay yet, so I need to get some more resources. That's 4 metal and 2 energy, so I will grab those metal, hit the next turn, take 2 energy, and purchase myself a hangar bay. Now you can see the little button for adding a mining shuttle has appeared. However, I don't have enough resources left because it requires 1 metal and 2 energy itself. So we'll grab that metal now, go on to the next turn, 2 energy, and we have 2 actions left, one of which will be used to create this first ship in the game. That's all for this week, folks. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Feel free to like, comment and share. Any advice or support is appreciated. Next week we'll be looking at getting that ship to move and actually do some stuff, such as colonize this metal planet over here. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.